What's up, everybody? In this video, we are going to learn how to use JavaScript code and create a custom function where we will get the time and send a message of good morning, good afternoon, or good night to the debug node. Node-RED is built on Node.js, which is a JavaScript runtime environment. JavaScript is one of, if not the, most popular programming language in the world. It is used on the web to make interactive content. Node-RED is great because we can use the existing nodes in our flows and not have to program. We can also use JavaScript code inside our Node-RED flows as well. Ensure you have Node-RED running and open it in a browser. You should see our previous flow we created. Click the plus and create a new flow. Double-click on Flow 1. Change the name to Timed Greeting. In the description, put created by and enter your name. Click Done. Double-click on the changing message content and click Delete. In the Nodes window, select an inject node and drag it to your workspace. Next, select a function node and drag it to the workspace. Last, add a debug node to the workspace. Connect the inject node to the function node and the function node to the debug node. Double-click on the function node. You will see an area where we can add code. This is where we can write JavaScript and create a custom function. For our program, we want to get the hour of the day and use this to determine what message we will send to the debug. We will use some existing code to do this. I'm grabbing the code from W3Schools. This is a great resource for basic JavaScript that you can use in your work. We will use the getHours method. It will return the hours between 0 and 23. We can use this code to help us write out our own code. If you look at how the code is written, we call a new date and then can use a method of getHours to return the hour. If we look at the code on W3Schools, there are 2 lines of code to get the hour. The first line of code declares a new variable called d and creates a new instance of the date by using the date function. This will give us an object that holds the current date and time. JavaScript has additional methods that can be used to format the date. In our case, we use the .getHours method to return the hour. On the second line of code, we declare a variable called hour and use the d variable created on the previous line and include the method. In our Node-RED flow, we already have a variable. It is the msg.payload variable. We can also combine the creation of the new date and .getHours method on one line. You can try using additional date methods on your own. W3Schools has documentation about all of the different methods. In Node-RED, in the edit function on line 1, type msg.payload space equals space new space date open bracket close bracket dot getHours open bracket close bracket semicolon. This will replace the msg.payload with a new date, and adding the .getHours will convert the date to the current hour. Click Done. Deploy and test your flow. In the debug window, you should see the current hour displayed as a number from 0 to 23. Now we need to use a switch function to evaluate the hour. Drag a switch onto the line after your function. Double-click on the switch. On the first rule, click the down arrow and select Is Between. Change the values to 0 and 11. Add another rule and click the down arrow and select Is Between. Change the values to 12 and 17. Add one more rule. Click the down arrow and select Is Between. Change the values to 18 and 23. You should see 3 outputs on the switch function. We will add a change function for each of the different scenarios. The change function will change the message to good morning, good afternoon, or good night. Drag 3 change functions onto your workspace. Ensure they are between the switch function and the debug function. Connect each change function to the switch function and the debug function. Double-click on the top change function. We will set the msg.payload to Good Morning. Click Done. Double-click on the middle change function. We will set the msg.payload to Good Afternoon. Click Done. Double-click on the bottom change function. We will set the msg.payload to Good Night. Click Done. Click Deploy and Test. You should see a message of good morning, good afternoon, or good night, depending on the time of day. To confirm your flow is working, you can change the clock on your computer to different times and see the message you get. Let's look at one last thing. In previous flows we created different variables that we changed and passed between flows. In this flow, we are only using the msg.payload property. The msg.payload is the default property that is passed between nodes. If we add debug nodes, we can see how the value changes as it goes between the different nodes. As you work with node red and build additional flows, you will want to determine additional datasets that you need to add to your flows. At the end of this video, you should understand how to use a custom function that uses JavaScript code in a flow.